evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 14th episode of Text Messages. I'm the parasite of the show, Rick Tex. Glad to have you here once again in our 5th week of operations. I'd say we're moving ahead pretty good, hitting the high groove. Haven't really jumped the cushion too often yet, so just keep pushing ahead. Now, some of you may be wondering how we're able to film the 14th episode when the 12th episode, the 13th episode hasn't yet been filmed. But in actuality, I talked to some of the show producers, and they decided that we're going to go ahead and film that Friday, April 13th, and then have it air at 9 o'clock or something like that. That'll be the big giveaway. So we got some pretty big plans for that show. Hopefully they'll all materialize and they'll match the vision that I and the producers have as far as the direction we're going to take the show. But yeah, ultimately we'll see. So we'll have to use a bit of a time machine. So we'll get to next Friday, April 13th. Today is April 4th. Now let me double check that actually, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, April 4th, 2018. So next Friday, April 13th. So that's still 9 days from now. So we'll probably be already on the 17th or so episode before the 13th episode is filmed. And then showed on YouTube or whatever. But hey, if that's what it takes to bring quality programming, then that's what we're going to have to do, ladies and gentlemen. So that being said, today we got a bit of sunshine. We had some blizzard conditions the last couple days, which for the beginning of April is definitely out of the ordinary. But it'd be nice to have that additional moisture into the ground, because that'll provide the plant with a lot of nutrients when they want to start growing once all the snow does finally melt in May or hopefully late April or whatever the case may be. But yeah, you gotta take what you get. You always gotta take what Mother Nature provides to you, and then just run with it. So snow in April, it's a bit of a hassle. It's kind of, you already got your shovels put away, and you already pushed the 4-wheel drive off your pickup truck, and you already put your drag slicks on your car and all that stuff. But yeah, just get through it. It'll warm up, sun will come out. Before you know it, all this stuff will be melted off. So. And then you can go outside and go biking, running, rowing, canoeing, skydiving, cliff jumping, barrel rolling, all that fun stuff. But ladies and gentlemen, today what I wanted to discuss, I've touched base on other fitness, exercises, endeavors, and that kind of junk. Mostly I just try to focus on being healthy. Someday we might move into a political or religious, or probably won't move into a sports direction, but maybe on occasion. Maybe motorsports. Yeah, maybe motorsports too, but it's kind of difficult to talk about NASCAR when it's on some weird random channels that probably cost $100 a month to get, when anyone can just pay the $30 a month and then get internet, for example. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna talk today about swimming. Now, the nice thing about swimming, it's a cardiovascular workout that works a lot of the upper body. Now, you can easily say, yeah, rowing is the same thing too, but let's be honest, rowing is not. If you got people to hang out with, yeah, it is kind of fun to row a canoe or to row a kayak or whatever the case may be, but it is a bit inconvenient too. Now, that's not to say that swimming is a totally convenient sport either, because running, you can go outside right now, start running. A bike, you can go to Rod's bicycle shop, offer him double the asking price, hop on a bike, start riding. Canoeing, yeah, it's a bit of a hassle. Let's see. Swimming, you got to find a swimming pool for one. And you can try lakes and oceans and ponds and all that too, but problem with them though, especially ponds, the smaller they get, generally the more maybe not pollution, but more parasites and leeches and just things you don't want to swim with, more or less. But if you get in a river, of course, there's currents and everything, so you got to keep that in mind. So you can't just swim in one direction and then swim back in the other direction, because you might not be able to make it, and then you might drown, and you might hit a dam, or somebody might drive their car over a river and then conveniently run you over just as you're swimming underneath it. So swimming in a rivers are usually pretty dirty too, with pollutants, because maybe not so much in the 21st century, but back in the good old days, a lot of companies that would be located alongside a river, they may not directly dump their pollution into the water, but wherever their pollution would go and seep into the ground, then it would somehow end up in the river. So, and farms and I guess whatever pesticides and fertilizers farms are putting on their land, that gets in the rivers too. So yeah, it's just, yeah, river probably has more pollution. The lakes and ponds, they got parasites, leeches, chiggers, all these things that make you itch and uncomfortable. And the ocean, yeah, I mean, it has jaws and crocodiles and whales, so killer whales. I mean, it's pretty, so oceans are probably dangerous, rivers are dirty, and lakes and ponds are inconvenient or parasitic, whatever you may call that to be. That leads us then to swimming pools, not the goofy swimming pool, the above ground or below ground swimming pools that you put outside and you just lay in there in the middle of summer and then hopefully your sister brings all of her friends over. I'm talking about the pools that are 25 yards, you swim back and forth and slap water all day, slap other people on the back and shake everyone's hands and just have, swim underneath people and, kick water onto them and splash them. It's just a pool where you can go have a good time, meet up with a bunch of people, get some, maybe not a bunch of people, but just find a pool and exercise, get some upper body work in, get your heart pumping, get the blood racing and coursing through your veins, get your legs moving, your neck going back and forth, your breathing every third stroke. All that good fun stuff. Now, some of the best places to look for a pool, if you have if you live in a decently affluent community, your high school is probably, or middle school is probably going to have a swimming pool. And not only that, they'll probably have some available times for lap swimming or open swim, for example. For example, you can easily look it up online, or you can, if you go to like grocery stores, or even if you get in the mail, they'll send you this community ed thing. Let me see if I can find it. These are Harbor Freight coupons. Here we go. Yeah, just something like this, community education. So you go ahead and open it up. Let's say adult fitness, page 4, okay? Let's go to page 4 here, ladies and gentlemen. 24-hour boot camp doesn't sound like it's a very practical thing to do. Yoga in the park, yeah, that's probably mostly for females. They'll conveniently show pictures where they actually have males on there, but I highly doubt that it's probably not really socially acceptable for males to get involved with yoga. Now, hey, if you want to, go ahead and do so. I'm sure there are some that do, but if you're a male, probably a more suitable activity would be maybe powerlifting or canoeing or something that involves a lot of upper body strength, or just that involves being a masculine person. Now let's see, pickleball, open gym, paddle fit. Paddle fit sounds expensive, so I'm not sure I'd recommend. Ballroom dancing, now that definitely sounds like it would be good for co-ed activities. And yeah, I'm sure it's a great exercise too. Everyone's probably laughing and smiling and just having a good time. That being said though, ladies and gentlemen, I don't see swimming on here. So let's go ahead, aquatic swim activities, page 35, and see what we got there. Alright, so we got open swim, all ages. Basically means there's going to be kids in the pool, so it's absolutely not. If you intend to use swimming for a fitness activity, open swim is absolutely what you do not want to do. Occasionally, at our local, back in the good old days at our local high school, I would go during open swim, and you just feel like an idiot because you're just going back and forth, and kids want to use the pool, and you got some goon that just wants to actually use it for swimming. You just make a moron out of yourself. So here, lap swim. Alright, so age 18 plus, so that, I suppose that's age discrimination, but whatever the case may be. So ultimately that's mostly just to say, yeah, there's not going to be kids swimming around, fooling around, splashing you with water and stuff. Now that's not to say there's not going to be adults splashing you with water. That's certainly not a guarantee. So here we go. Pay at the door, $5 a day, $40 for 10-day pass. And it does seem a little expensive. I haven't really been to a gym lately, as probably painfully obvious. But, a monthly gym fee for a gym with a pool, like a Lifetime Fitness or an LA Fitness, is probably maybe $70 a month. The last time I went, it was probably $50 a month. So you figure, $70 a month. If you're paying $5 every day, after 13 days, you already hit the $70. And then those are generally 24-hour, or they're pretty much open at very convenient times. they might be closed from 2 to 6 a.m. or whatever, or 2 to 5 a.m. or something, just to do general basic maintenance. So there's also that to consider. So you're paying $5 a day to go swimming. I mean, that does seem a little expensive, but the rate that the Federal Reserve is printing money nowadays, it's like, hell, maybe this will be $10 in a couple of years, and that won't even seem like that much money, but here we go. Let's see. Sunday, June 10th through August 5th, 7:45 to 9:15 p.m. So, I mean, and Tuesday, Thursday, 6 to 8 a.m. So, I mean, you are very limited to what times that you can actually access the pools. So, I mean, if you're not available 6 to 8 a.m., excuse me, or if you're not available 7:45 to 9:15 p.m., then you basically are going to have to find a gym membership and pay the $70 a month or whatever. But there's also a galore of other benefits available too. So yeah, I mean, lap swim, it's all fun and game. You don't have to sign up for any membership. You just show up with a Speedo on and a swim cap and some goggles and start slapping water and just having a good time. But yeah, I suppose the 10-day pass, I guess it'd be probably a good idea to check it out a couple times and then see, this is pretty cool. It's good to see if there's plenty of lanes open or how serious the organizers take it. Because, I mean, if the organizers are just putting forth a half-hearted attempt and not really putting in lane lines every time because maybe not a lot of people show up, so then you're probably better off just not getting the 10-day pass or something too. Usually, from what I noticed before is, when I lived in Champlin, there's a pool in Coon Rapids. I forget what it's called, like Jefferson High School or Jefferson Middle, something like that. So you could actually rent the pool for maybe an hour or two and then pay a couple $100. So I'm not sure if people are renting the Vandenberg pool here and then renting it out and then charging people to use it for lap swim. So I mean, I suppose you can do that. I mean, if you're a really wealthy guy and you really want to use the pool and nobody else is offering lap swim, then you can just say, hey, I'll rent the pool for $100, and then if other people want to swim, I can charge them $10 or whatever, or $5. I mean, $10, probably nobody's going to do it. So there is some demand and offer, demand and availability, supply and demand, whatever you'd wish to call it. So yeah, I mean, local high schools, middle schools, pools are very expensive to maintain. That's why you don't see too many people with very big pools in their backyard, and it's a lot of space too. But, they got to put chlorine, they got to cycle chlorine in and out, and measure parasites and skin cells and fecal matter. So it's pretty important to have somebody that actually knows what they're doing as far as pool maintenance goes. I don't know if you need any special licenses for it, but it is a very expensive endeavor. So if you go to some high school or middle school in some poor community that's all run down and looks crappy, probably not going to have a pool. And I think there's a middle school in St. Cloud that actually did have a pool, but it was just empty, so it was just like an empty space. It looked like one of those old skateboarding ramps or skateboarding pools or whatever they're called. And usually elementary school is not going to have a pool because pools are made so they're deep and shallow, and generally you don't want elementary school kids in and around pools. Well, yeah, maybe they do. Actually, I take that back. There probably is elementary schools with pools if they're brand new, cutting edge, if they got a big levy and a whole bunch of taxpayer money and all that too. So yeah, just look around and see if there's any good pools around. And now, if you're gonna sign up for a gym anyways, it's probably a better idea. Usually, pools are so expensive and they require so much real estate that if you have zero intention of swimming, I would just avoid a gym with a pool because it's probably going to be more expensive. And if it's not more expensive, it's cheaper because there's a far greater amount of members to circumvent the cost of the pool, which means the gym is probably going to be a lot more busy during the times that you most likely want to be there. So I mean, like the Gold's Gym back at St. Cloud Gold's Gym, they had a Gold's Gym way back in the good old days when I used to go there, right in the mid-2000s or whatever. So it wasn't real expensive back then. They had a nice little pool. It's 3 or 4 lanes, 25 yards. And it wasn't really all that busy either because there generally isn't too many people that use the swimming pool at any gym. Especially if you're going at 2 in the morning, then there's definitely not going to be very many people there. But if you're not going to use the pool, then you're going to pay for the 5 people that actually are going to use the pool. So if you're a swimming minded person going to a gym, if you go to a gym with a pool, you're probably getting a discount because other members are paying for the pool so that you and the 4 other people that actually do use the pool can use it. When I went to Coon Rapids Lifetime a couple of years ago, they only had about 2 or 3 lanes, and the lanes are almost always available. There were occasional times where you had to stand on a deck like a zombie for a couple minutes, but usually the lane would clear out. Usually there's someone cool enough that would let you swim next to him. Every once in a while you'd have some clown that wanted to have a lane all to themselves, even if they're just walking back and forth. That's another thing too. When you look at a swimming pool, generally there's going to be a deep end and shallow end. And there might be a 25-yard pool or a 25-meter pool. 25-meter pool is about 6 feet long than a 25-yard pool. So if you go from a 25-yard pool to a 25-meter pool, the wall is going to be a little bit further, and you're going to take maybe a stroke or 2 extra on the 25-meter pool. So there's also that to consider, because if you go from swimming in a 25-meter pool to a 25-yard pool, you might hit your head on the wall if you're not paying attention, because you might think, well, it takes me 11 strokes to get from one side to the other. Now all of a sudden you're on the 10th stroke and you hit your head on the wall because it's a 25-yard pool. So there's that to consider. Just who's ever running the gym or the pool or the most high schools will probably be 25-yard pool. I mean, Coon Rapids Lifetime was probably the only 25-meter pool I was ever in, which is kind of weird, and I didn't even realize it till I went from swimming in that to the 25-yard pool. Then it was definitely obvious that there's some funny business going on here. Now, getting back to shallow and deep ends. So, if you get a pool that just has a shallow end, that means you're going to have a lot of goons that want to go in there and just walk back and forth. I mean, they could easily go outside and walk around, but they insist on walking back and forth in a pool. Not only that, they insist on taking up a lane to walk back and forth in the pool. So while you have the people who are swimming, who are looking straight down to the lines, who don't have the field of vision in front of them, who actually do need the lane lines, they have to go on the side or swim back and forth in the open part of the pool, so that Big Joe Rosso can put on his little flotation devices and walk back and forth in the pool. Now, I mean that's so. If you see a shallow pool, just keep that in mind, that you're gonna have people walking back and forth. I mean, I don't know why they do it, but they do. So maybe they have severe back ailments, or they just want to be in a pool and get exposed to all the chlorine and other bleach that's probably in the pool that probably not very healthy for people. That's another thing too. It's probably not a good idea to just hang out in the pool all the time due to all of the chemistry going on in it. So if you're gonna swim for an exercise, just some might say you want to shower before you go to the pool so it fills up your pores with liquid, and then when you actually do get into the pool, then it displaces any of the the chlorinated liquid that would get into your pores, which that probably makes sense. So. And then plus you always have to shower before you go into the pool too, so there's always that to consider. I think pretty much anywhere you go it's going to say you must shower at least 5 minutes or something prior to entering the pool, which is a very sanitary and just helpful thing to do for other members of the gym or the high school or middle school that you may be swimming in. So, shallow pools, you're going to have people walking back and forth. Yeah, it's annoying, it's kind of a hassle, but it's a reality, it's a fact of life. And the deep pools too. If you get used to swimming in them, it's pretty fun. But otherwise, if you're used to swimming in a shallow pool and you go to a deep pool, your depth perception of where you need to turn or when the wall is going to come up gets a little off too. So, yeah, I mean, just whatever you're used to swimming is basically what's going to work for you, ladies and gentlemen. It looks like we're coming up to a break. We're going to have to plug for a future show, Good Times, Balls Deep. I just talked to the host today. I'm not sure yet if I've been cleared to reveal his identity yet, but he's meeting a gentleman at an Institute of Higher Education to get some audio-video equipment. Right, I'm sure it's top-of-the-line stuff that's probably made in the USA and probably professional equipment, because that's usually what his standards are, either all or nothing type deal. So yeah, he's gonna meet with that gentleman, and then hopefully they can get all that equipment together and then get some setup going on that'll allow them to run on 8 cylinders, pedal to the metal, balls to the wall, all that good fun stuff. So I mean, I'm super exhilarated for it. Super pumped for Good Times, Balls Deep. I mean, I know that we've been harping on it a lot, ladies and gentlemen, but it will be, it's not some running joke that I'm just going to continue to promote it and it'll never air. I mean, the show will air sometime in the future, but quality takes time. I mean, this show, you just get some guy to stand here with a suit on and start talking. It's not that difficult, and the quality obviously isn't top notch either. It's good enough to promote Good Times Balls Deep, which is going to be the flagship show for making Minnesota great again, ultimately making America great again, ladies and gentlemen. So that being said, looks like we'll be back in about 3 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. Glad to have you here listening once again. You're listening on the Parasite of the show, Rick Tex. Welcome back to Text Messages, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the Parasite of the show, Rick Tex. Glad to have you here, April 4th, 2018. Now it looks like the sun is hiding behind the clouds, but for about 99% of the day it's been out today, and it's just a great day to just go outside, absorb some of that vitamin D, and feel the health effects that the sun can provide for humankind. And you'll notice too, if you got indoor animals or plants, even plants, if you got a window with sun shining through it, the plant's leaves will literally bend towards the sun. Or if the plant, there's no starter plants in here yet, because I planted some old seeds that, seeds do have a shelf life. So if you got seeds that have been sitting around for more than 5 years, they're probably not going to grow. I just tossed a few seeds in here just to experiment a little bit, see if they would grow, but they haven't. So ladies and gentlemen, when you do grow these starter plants, you put them in a window, you'll notice that they bend towards the sun. The leaves literally face the sun. And we got animals, indoor animals, hamsters, gerbils, cats, dogs, rhinoceroses. they find a spot in the sun to lay down in because they know that sun is healthy, keeps them a little warm and just a good warm feeling, I guess is probably where that term originated. So, yeah, if you can get some sun, it's highly recommended that you do that. Maybe take an extra 10 minutes walk in your car or walk around the parking lot for 15 minutes to get that additional sun. It's very healthy. And yeah, if you're going to be outside for 10 hours underneath the sun, then you're probably better off just wearing one of those big hats that cover up the sun. Because, sunscreen, it's hard to trust stuff like that. Yeah, if you got red skin or if you're an albino, then maybe it's good for people, but ultimately, I've never wore sunscreen in my life. You get these freckles here and there, but it's no big deal. Maybe if your whole body was just one big freckle, then you'd look like you were tan all the time. So then it would be kind of nice. You'd ratchet up your level of attraction just slightly. So that certainly wouldn't be a bad thing. Now, as far as the health ramifications of it, who really knows? And this is how important the sun is. The sun literally determines your skin shade based on where you've lived in for how long. Because the more northerly you go from the equator, generally the shades get lighter. Like look at a polar bear. He's just sheer white. And then look at a grizzly bear or a black bear. They're obviously brown and black. That's why you don't have grizzly bears living in the North Pole or the South Pole. That's for polar bears to live at. So, your skin just acclimates and evolves to however much sun you may be getting. Now, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, getting back to the topic of swimming, not really diving, just swimming mostly. Yeah, just find a nice high school, middle school, or a gym with a swimming pool. And if you're not going to swim, and you go to a gym with a swimming pool, you're probably paying extra to maintain the pool, so keep that in mind too. And if you like donating money, if you think it's healthy that other people are swimming but you don't want to, then go ahead and at least feel good about yourself. Be like, offering to pay more in your income taxes, something along those lines there. Now, the thing with swimming is, it's a very, very unique exercise. Running, for example, you're basically always walking or skipping or hopping, doing some activity that's on your 2 feet. And biking is pretty unique too. You are sort of just isolating mostly lower body, so you're not getting the entire body workout. Rowing, you're using upper body, and I suppose you kind of are using lower body if you're going all out and doing the back and forth motion, moving, bending your knees and stuff, so maybe rowing could be considered it is one of those things where you're literally sitting down doing it too. Biking you're sitting down too, I guess, so there's that. But the unique aspect about swimming is you're literally, the buoyancy counteracts what we call gravitational force. So it allows you to move in strange and unique directions that aren't afforded to you being on dry land or on Earth or the moon or the sun, if you're able to find a way to reflect the reflect the temperatures. So with swimming, you don't have to counter the effects of gravity. Now, the reason why you float more when your lungs are full is because your lungs are less dense than the water. So that's why when people swim, they generally take a big breath in, and then they try to hold as much as they can and blow it all out at the very last second and then breathe it in again. I know somewhere you've read, you'll breathe in and then slowly blow out the whole time you're swimming and then, move your head to the side and take in a big breath. That's really not the best way to do it. You're not maintaining your floating ability when you do that. If you want to give it a shot, just go ahead and go in the shallow end, fill up your lungs with air and hold your breath, and then see how long you can stay on top of the water, and then just blow all the air out, and then you'll sink like a rock. So that's why it's good to have a big lung capacity too. Now, if you're planning on getting into competitive swimming, usually there's so many neural pathways that you got to develop. So it really helps to get a start at a very young age, say 5, 6, 7 years old. Because if you start in 7th, 8th, 9th grade, unless you're very physiologically gifted, if you got very flexible ankles, giant feet, a long torso, maybe giant hands or a small head or giant lungs. Unless you got those massive physiological advantages, you're probably not going to really go anywhere with it. Yeah, if you work your ass off, maybe take some growth hormones or do some blood doping, you might, get a Division II scholarship or whatever the case may be. But then, you're basically expending all your energy swimming and not really learning anything at the college. So there's also that to consider. And the thing with swimming too is, even if you're resoundingly successful, if you're literally the third or fourth best swimmer in the world, but you can't make the Olympics, the best you can get out of it is Division I scholarship. So I suppose you get bragging rights too, but in all honesty, 99% of the population does not remotely care about how good you are at swimming. Now, that doesn't mean that you should completely discount the idea in general and just say, oh yeah, I'm only 6 feet tall, so what's the point of being in swimming? I'm just going to be worthless at it. So, here's what I was able to learn through my extensive years of swimming. So I didn't really know, I couldn't even get to the other side of the pool in 7th grade. So I was too scared to join. And then in 8th grade there was some summer swimming junk, so then I got involved with that. And I was able to finally get back and forth a couple times. And then 8th grade I was able to finally join the swim team. And when you're a younger guy, you watch the older guys just doing very well, and they're a lot bigger, they're went through puberty and all that stuff too, so they're very good at swimming. And you kind of think in the back of your mind like, well, all I gotta do is put in the work, swim year round, and I'll be just as good as these guys. But once you get to about 9, 10, 11th grade, and your performance starts to taper off a bit, and you got to put in a lot more work, and you got to be a lot more smart about what you're doing, you start to notice that there's a lot more to success than just putting in linear input. Now, the thing that I learned, especially with swimming, is if you don't have the neural pathways developed as a child, if they're not efficiently firing, you basically need to consciously think about them the entire time you're swimming. It makes it very challenging just for anybody in general. It'd be like if you had to think about breathing all the time, every hour of every day, you always had to think about breathing. For humans, we have this advantage of unconsciously breathing, so we don't have to think about it. So if you have to think about it, then you're expending part of your brain that could be used for better, more productive endeavors, or more creative or cognitive endeavors. So swimming is a very unforgiving sport in that regard. So, that's not to say you couldn't go to some college and have a decent career in swimming or whatever. But it's very individual sport too. So, in football, for example, you can not be very good at it, but still at least contribute, maybe as a second or third string, and then you're part of a team, so you're working together with other people. And just about any working environment you're in, it's going to be part of a team. So it teaches you that whole, work together, everyone achieves more type thing. Whereas swim, you have relays and things of that nature in swimming, but ultimately, when you're in the pool and you're going back and forth, you're pretty much all by yourself, an independent entity. Now, maybe if they had an event in swimming where two guys got to lock arms and get to the end of the pool and swim back, then that would probably be considered a team aspect. But it is a very individual sport. Winning and losing as a team is, I don't even think it really ever mattered, as far as our high school goes. Plus, we never really won that often. There was one year where if we were lucky, we'd have won half the meets, but otherwise it was usually, we'd probably win about 2 or 3 meets. And then what would happen, once we would beat a team, the next year that team would team up with another team. Or if we beat 2 teams, maybe those 2 teams would team up. Or if we beat one team, that team might team up with another team, even if it was 60 miles away. So our high school was essentially the standard for how bad you can be. If you were worse than us, you had to team up with another team. And if you were better, then you're probably good. We only maybe had a dozen kids out every year for swimming, so we weren't, a powerhouse by any stretch of the imagination. Some of these other schools, they might have 4 dozen kids, and most of them have probably swam their entire lives, whereas us, we might have started in 7th or 8th grade, so you kind of play with the hand you're dealt and then just have fun with it there. But in all honesty, to allocate so much time towards a competitive endeavor when you can see the final, the best case scenario. So if I had to do it again, I probably wouldn't have put in all that time into competitive swimming. But you do learn a lot. Like, for example, working hard doesn't necessarily mean you're going to achieve everything you think you're going to achieve. You got to work smart. You got to have a little bit of luck too. You got to have good people around you, and you got to be very persistent, and sometimes you got to reach pretty deep down to find things that you didn't know you had. You think, hey, I'm swimming 5,000-6,000 yards a day, this is the hardest thing to do, I'm guaranteed to be successful. The reality is, every other person is also swimming 5,000-6,000, they might even be swimming more, they might even swim 10,000 yards a day. If they're more efficient too, if they've developed neural pathways as a young child, then they're going to be able to swim 10,000 yards in the same amount of time that you can probably swim 6,000. So they're just maybe not more gifted, but they're more prepared for that particular challenge in their life. And that doesn't necessarily mean you just walk away from any challenge if you don't feel your predisposition to be successful at it. Because the best thing you can do is when you are faced with challenges to go in balls deep and to see where you can take it, because even if you do fail, it's still a learning process. But if you just do it half-hearted, you're not going to really learn anything out of it. Like if you join the swim team and then you just half-ass it and you figure, all right, I got no problem being on third string relay or anchoring the JV team on the 500 free or something like that. You're not going to. The only thing you're getting out of it is maybe a good exercise. You're not going to learn the importance of thinking about what you're doing, thinking about the other things that surround what you're doing too. For example, when I was in high school, basically my schedule during swimming consisted of waking up about 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, going to school, sitting there for about half an hour doing all the homework if I had 5 hours of homework, I'd do it in half hour before school. If I had 5 minutes of homework, I'd do it 5 minutes before school, and then spend the 25 minutes talking to people. And then, you go to school. After school, do the swimming thing. So it'd be 6 o'clock. You get home, you'd eat some food. Maybe you'd hang out with some people, and then go on AOL Instant Messenger till midnight. So I was probably only getting about 6 hours of sleep, and probably not eating a lot of calories either. So yeah, you can bust your ass 6,000 yards, but if you're not putting in the calories and you're not sleeping to rebuild the muscle, you're not going to get anything out of it. You're literally torturing yourself without even realizing it. It's very foolhardily to just assume that if what you're doing is difficult, you're getting something out of it. Because you have to accept the difficulty and think about why you're doing it and what the goal is in mind. Like, for example, if you're burning 2,000 calories a day swimming, which is completely unpractical, but I'll just use it as a nice whole number. So if you're burning 2,000 calories, like Michael Phelps, when he was in the Olympics, they claimed he had 12,000 calories a day. Now you might be thinking, well, he's just swimming back and forth in the pool. How hard can that be? And the guy's really skinny too. But when you're burning that much energy and breaking down your muscles and your heart and all that stuff too, you need to put the food back in your body to build it back up. And it has to be healthy food too, not a bunch of food with all these pesticides in it, so then you have to spend all your calories to burn up all the toxins and pesticides, get them out of your body. So you got to eat clean, healthy food that builds up your muscles right away. That's same with weightlifting too, strength training, biking, running, canoeing, rowing, all that stuff. You need to eat lots of food if you're going to do that stuff. If you want to sit on your ass all day and just stare at computer screens, then it's probably unhealthy to eat a bunch of food. Because if you're just eating excess food, for most people, a lot of people, they just store it as fat. For me, I just get violent stomach pains and, throw up or all this other weird, goofy stuff too. So I literally can't, I don't think I could be a barrel ass even if I tried to be. Because, everyone, they have different genetic code in them. Just at one little strand of DNA has terabytes of information or whatever. So ladies and gentlemen, that being said, we're coming up to the break number 2, it looks like here. So Good Times Balls Deep, I talked to the host this afternoon. He's meeting with a gentleman who's a member of an Institute of Higher Learning who has a lot of good audio video equipment. So they're going to test some of that stuff out and possibly look at potential studios, or maybe the host of Good Times Balls Deep will utilize that equipment and use it in his own studio. I don't know if he's buying it, leasing it, renting it, stealing it, whatever the case may be, but he's going to get some good top of the line equipment. Obviously more. I mean, the camera here at Text Messages is insanely expensive, and I put a lot of money into it. But I probably should spend more time with the audio and all that good fun stuff too. But it is what it is. We're working with what we got. Yeah, I know we're in our 5th week. We should probably be making more improvements and all that stuff too. But ladies and gentlemen, we're just trying to do a good job. I mean, you can never really truly do the best you can do, but yeah. I mean, we're humans. We got our little flaws and fallacies, and got other busy things to do in life too, like grow starter plants or lift weights and things of that nature too, which take up time. So that being said, Good Times Balls Deep will definitely be happening in the very near future. It sounds like they got some co-hosts or guests lined up too and everything. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped about it. I have been pumped for a while too, but fortunately I've been able to maintain my circadian rhythm again. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm the parasite of the show, Rick Tex. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Thanks for watching. Welcome back to Text Messages, ladies and gentlemen. I just noticed that we only have 13 minutes left on the camera. See, what happened is I recorded a previous episode, and then when I transferred it from the camera to the computer, the camera's lighting was just about perfect, right where I needed it to be. But when I transferred it to the computer, then something it was just a lot darker on the computer. Yeah, maybe the contrast or the brightness is off and all that goofy stuff too. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure based on what media player you're using too, that also influences the light too. But ultimately, this is Text Messages. We're an unrefined show. I mean, I don't even know how to get a screen for the green screen back here. So we just we're just going pedal to the metal, and whatever happens, and I'll try to refine things here and there as we go. But for the most part, we're just going to play with the hand we're dealt, etc., etc. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have about 11 minutes left of the show. I had to make sure I had to cut off the break there because I noticed that the last episode I filmed that went over about 5. Normally our SD card has 2 hours in it. So the last episode I went over 5 minutes. So that means that this one will have to be cut short of 5 minutes or 4 minutes approximately. So I apologize for that, ladies and gentlemen. See what happened is normally normally on this day, I participate in other activities that require physical exertion. But given the Easter weekend, it's a pretty long weekend, a lot of laughing and smiling and festivities. So I was pretty sore this past weekend. So the physical activities I was going to normally do today, I put them off till tomorrow, and then move this podcast up for today. So I mean, things are a little bit discombobulated, especially when you factor in that the 13th episode. See, the 13th episode normally filmed on Tuesday, but we're filming that April 13th. So we're going to actually have to go back in time to give that to you, ladies and gentlemen. Otherwise, technically, it wouldn't be the 13th episode. Like, for example, you could say, well, hey, you didn't film the 13th episode yet, so that would mean that today would be the 13th episode, but today is the 14th episode. So, yeah, it is confusing, and we're just trying to figure everything out, ladies and gentlemen, and just so that you at home are happy and glad to have you watching and listening to the show. Alright, so getting back to swimming, for example. Now, if you plan to do competitive swimming, yeah, I mean, it's good to have physiological advantages, clearly. And the end goal is, basically the only person that gets wealthy from swimming are people that, probably pretty much anyone in the Olympics can get wealthy from it. Now, yeah, you can say people that go pro or get sponsors and all that, they probably get a decent amount of money too. So, most people that do have a gift for swimming you might be able to use those same gifts for football or basketball or even baseball too. So I mean, I don't mean to crap on swimming as a competitive sport, but if you do have talents for other team sports, probably recommend doing that instead. Because there's, like baseball, for example, even softball. You can play intramural leagues, you can play, double A or single A, and you can basically play baseball your whole life. Now, football is a little different, it's high impact, there's intramural leagues and stuff, flag football and everything, so you can get involved with that too. And then, for colleges and pros, there's a lot more avenues of opportunity there, especially now the XFL is going to be making its grand return. And basketball too. Basketball's got the NBA, and then they use the NCAA as the minor leagues. Unfortunately, the kids don't get paid, or the adults. I mean, people in college are 18, so that's the thing that always bothered me when college coaches call. I mean, these guys are in college, and they're calling the NCAA players kids. They're like, "Oh, this kid did great this game." He's not a kid. Everyone in college is 18 years old. They are adults. So, should they be getting paid? I mean, I guess it depends on. I mean, it sounds like the NCAA is making quite the killing on not only college football, but college basketball too. So, yeah, maybe it would be fair if they were compensated. But it is just bothersome when adults are referred to as children. And what's even more bothersome is when people refer to football as a child's game. I mean, yeah, children can play football, but I mean, if you put a child out on the NFL field, what's going to happen to him is not childlike. It's not Jay June or immature. It's a very real game. It's very intense. It has very large, fast men playing. And yeah, I mean, yeah, children can play it. It'd be like saying if you drive a top fuel dragster, you're driving a Matchbox car, or you're driving your mom's SUV or something. I mean, yeah, they both have four wheels and an engine and something that propels them forward, and if reverse works, that too. But the power is totally different. Everything they're just designed entirely different. So yeah, getting back to swimming. As far as a competitive sport, it's probably not the smartest thing to get involved with. The only reason why I probably got involved with it is because I didn't really feel like being on the basketball team. Wrestling seemed like kind of a weird sport, and I still don't know how to skate, so hockey was kind of out of the question. Maybe a goalie would have been fine, but it's a smaller town, so you had to team up with people from other communities to create a hockey team. So unfortunately, that seemed wildly impractical. So naturally, it just seemed like swimming was kind of the thing to do. I mean, there wasn't many people involved with it. It was just a small couple, a dozen guys, maybe 20 at the absolute most at any one time. So it's basically just hanging out with your buddies and stuff like that. It's more or less what it was. I mean, we had one guy who he didn't know how to. Not saying it's a bad thing. He just never bothered to swim until 10th grade. Then he just figured, yeah, I'll just join swimming, and then just for the fun of it, it's good exercise. Spend a couple hours every day and go back home and do my homework and get good grades and everything too. So he joined with. He was friends with me and a couple other guys who were swimming for a little bit longer. So he just swam in our lane. He didn't follow any of the practice or anything because he obviously wasn't around for long enough to develop any motor pathways for swimming, so he just swam back and forth the whole time, and for the most part stayed out of people's ways. But it's just good fun. You don't have to be a master swimming expert to get involved with it. If none of the other sports or activities are for you, and like basketball, for example, I guess you hear about people sign up for basketball, but then they just have to sit on the bench the whole time, or even hockey. Or wrestling too, if other teams forfeit, or if you're not good enough to make a weight class and to wrestle, swimming, you're basically guaranteed to jump in the pool and swim back and forth. Now, yeah, if you're not very good, it's not as fun, obviously. So pretty much like most anything in life, I guess. But it's one of those sports where you can kind of challenge yourself. Like if you don't have a gift for it, you can sort of say, okay, it's like weightlifting for me. Obviously, I have absolutely zero future in it whatsoever, but I still do it because it educates me on if I'm eating and resting properly and being just an overall healthy person. And the strength adaptation is an indicator to me of if what I'm doing is the right path, not to be confused with the devil's path or the left-hand path. So, yeah, even for somebody like swimming, it's more of a cardiovascular workout. So you can say, all right, if I do the 500 free today and I get 6 minutes 30 seconds, and I do it in a couple weeks from now after eating donuts all day and I get 6 minutes and 35 seconds, then I probably shouldn't eat donuts, even if I'm working every day after school swimming. So if 3 weeks later I start eating homegrown, locally organic raised chickens and organic hen eggs, and I start eating raw organic tree nuts from the local food store, Big Joe Rosso's Foods, and then I start eating I get a cow from a local farmer and eat that too, and then I'm eating 1,000 more calories a day. Now all of a sudden I can do a 6-minute 500. Then you'll know that, okay, whatever I'm doing is healthy and good for me. Yeah, I don't have to be the best of the best or put myself to the test consistently, but if I'm improving at whatever it is I'm doing. And with basketball, wrestling, and hockey, you don't have that standard of measurement. So even if you aren't a good swimmer, you can use the tools you learn participating in that activity to make yourself great again in other endeavors of life. Like for example, if eating healthy transcends all aspects of your life, socially, career-wise, when you're hanging out with your family, if you're unhealthy, you're going to be miserable. In your hobbies, you can get more actively involved with your hobbies too, and just for having fun in general. And if you're an unhealthy person, you've got back, neck pain all the time, you're not going to have fun ever. Nobody else is going to want to be around you. You can say the whole friends stick with each other till the end and everything. But ultimately, if you're not entertaining your friends, they have other important things to do, especially if they got a family and a career and all that other stuff too. So that's why it's important for you to be a healthy person, so you have the capacity to be able to contribute in all facets of your life. Work, family, friends, health, hobby. So, yeah, track is kind of the same way too. It's like, when I first started talking an hour ago, I thought that maybe competitive swimming was kind of a silly thing to do, but looking back on it, it was a very efficient measurement of knowing if you're making healthy choices in life. Like, yeah, if I go back in time, what if I stayed on AOL that semester till 2 in the morning talking to people and sleeping 4 hours a night and completely compromising my ability to swim effectively? Yeah, I probably would have. But that's the whole balancing everything out in your life. If I would have been asleep by 10 o'clock so I could get all the rest I needed, and I'd be able to knock some good swimming times and stuff too. And yeah, it probably would have been healthier too, but having good positive interaction with people that AOL semester provided, that also contributes to your health too. Now, yeah, you can say, oh, but what about the screen flickering and the screen sickness and how it messes with your melatonin and all that? Yeah, that definitely holds weight too. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to the conclusion of the tape. At any minute here, the car is going to automatically shut down, so if I cut down a mid-sentence, I apologize for that, ladies and gentlemen. Good times, balls deep. That's going to come in the very near future. We're going to have the 13th episode of Text Messages, Friday the 13th, Friday 9 p.m. I'll just set it to automatically publish on YouTube at 9 p.m. Should be a good time. It's going to be different than all the other shows. It's probably tell a few horror stories or something goofy like that. But yeah, good times, balls deep. The host of the show, I'm not sure. I'll have to ask him if I can reveal his identity yet. But yeah, he's working together with a gentleman from an Institute of Higher Learning, and they're working on audio video equipment. Probably just going to get top of the line stuff. Clearly higher grade than what we have here at Text Messages, ladies and gentlemen. So that being said, you're listening to Text Messages. I'm the parasite of the show, Rick Text. Glad to have you here once again, and we'll be back on probably Friday evening for episode 15. I wish you all well in the future and have fun.